and welcome to Star Trek Wars, your official bootleg Star Trek podcast. My name is Jeremy, and I know it's career suicide, but I am hijacking this podcast. Joining me tonight, Jordan. Your name is Jordan. So it must be my co-host, Jordan. Hey, Jordan.
That is right, Jeremy. And can you please tighten up your robe?
It's the future, Jordan. We don't care about such things.
Well.
And right across from me, she should have been. Wait, are you in the kitchen eating cookies? How many cookies are left?
5, 4, 3.
Get out of there! It's my wife, Chelsea. Hey, Chelsea.
Hey.
All right, next up, our resident Genesis expert, but don't get her started on Phil Collins' solo career. It's Lita. Hey, Lita.
Hi, glad to be here.
Glad to have you. And to my right, don't call him Tiny. It's my teenage son, Connor. Hey, Connor.
Hey, everybody. I'm here to have an intelligent, introspective conversation about Star Trek III, The Search for Spock. Also, tonight's episode is sponsored by Canada Dry. Surf up!
To the extreme.
That's very enthusiastic.
To the extreme!
And finally, straight from choking out an arm eel, it's Jocelyn. Hey, Jocelyn.
You know it. Hey, Jeremy, it's come to my attention that you had a peek at my show notes, and so I think you know what you need to do.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say it's come to my attention that you had peaked in high school. Sounds like it.
Yeah, I peaked in kindergarten, man. It's all relative.
It's all downhill from there. Welcome to Star Trek Wars. The movie we're reviewing tonight will be rated on a scale from 1 to 10 by us, the co-hosts, and you guys in the Star Trek Wars Council that left a rating on our Facebook page. If you wish to join the council and have your vote counted, head over to that page. You can find us by searching for Star Trek Wars. The council should pop up right at the top. There you can rate the episodes yourself and can also leave a comment that'll be potentially read on air. It's a great community. We're all on there, very active, and love talking Trek with you. A council roundtable podcast for the Wrath of Khan, hosted by senior council member James King, will be released soon, and that's something we plan on doing as a companion piece for every movie. So if you are interested in participating in any future movie casts, contact us through that Facebook page. We do have a Patreon commercial later on in the episode, but I did want to bring up 2 quick Patreon announcements before we get started. The first being for any Patreon member at $1 or more a month, you'll be receiving these movie podcasts a full week before the rest of the world. Your friends will be so jealous. And secondly, it is my great pleasure to announce that we will be jumping back into Babylon 5 and starting in a couple of weeks. So isn't that exciting?
In high definition.
It is. High definition. Babylon 5.
Our podcast will be in high definition to watch with no visuals.
So look forward to that monthly installment if you're a Patreon member. And finally, I just want to say in regards to Kirstie Alley, I feel some of my comments in Wrath of Khan could have been mistaken for fat shaming when taken out of context. And if anyone was hurt by the way they interpreted those remarks, I apologize.
That is not an apology.
Let the record state.
This is Night Train 2.0.
No, sir. Let the record state that I will always stand with Kirstie Alley through thick and thin. All right. Now, in the meantime, we are reviewing the 3rd Star Trek movie, so let's get started.
Give me back the Enterprise. With Scotty's help, I can...
No, Jim, the Enterprise would never stand the pounding, and you know it.
Well, I'll find a ship. I'll hire a ship.
Out of the question, my friend. The Council has ordered that no one but the science team goes to Genesis. Jen, your life and your career stand for rationality, not for intellectual chaos. Keep up this emotional behavior, and you'll lose everything. You'll destroy yourself. Do you understand me, Jen?
Star Trek III, The Search for Spock. Released on June 1st, 1984. Screenplay by Harve Bennett. Directed by Leonard Nimoy. Admiral James T. Kirk's defeat of Khan and the creation of the Genesis planet are empty victories. Spock is dead, and McCoy is inexplicably being driven insane. An unexpected visit from Sarek, Spock's father, provides the startling revelation. McCoy is harboring Spock's living essence. With one friend alive and one not, but both in pain, Kirk attempts to help his friends by stealing the Enterprise and defying Starfleet's Genesis planet quarantine. But the Klingons have also learned of Genesis and race to meet Kirk in a deadly rendezvous.
All right, thank you. Thank you to Barbara Whipple, our ship's computer, for providing that synopsis. Oh, just a great soundtrack. Had to let that play a little bit longer. Let's get into our initial reactions for Search for Spock. Connor, let's start with you. What are your initial reactions?
Well, I think this movie is as groovy as gravy. Personally, I have not seen this movie before, or maybe I have, but I was like a fetus at the time, so I couldn't like really remember anything.
So you had no memory of it.
Right. I knew that David got shanked. I knew that. I knew his liver got harvested, but I forgot a lot of the finer details. But I love this movie. I think almost as much as I love The Wrath of Khan.
Oh, amazing.
I almost said Wrath for Khan, but I didn't because I'm a good podcaster.
That's true.
You hear that, Dad?
Star Trek Wars will be right back.
After this emotional breakdown, we'll be right back.
Lita, what are your initial reactions?
I liked it. I'm like, okay, Star Trek, let's get weird. This is a freaky one. I'm into it.
Absolutely. This is a freaky one.
Yeah.
Well,
Interesting phrasing.
Jocelyn, freaky?
Sure. I mean, the word that stuck out to me is like campy. This is like, I know Star Trek doesn't go full camp until the voyage home, but this is like the natural precursor to that kind of feeling. All I remembered was I thought it was a disappointing one after Wrath of Khan in my memory, like, oh, be prepared for disappointment. But I'm with Connor, like, I enjoyed it almost as much as Wrath of Khan, but tonally it's very different. But it's still, I don't know, it's fun. It's funnier than I remember. There's a lot more actors that I was like, oh man, they're in it, and he's in it, and he's in it. So I had a lot of fun. I like it.
Fantastic. Let's keep this party going. Hopefully, Chelsea, your initial reactions.
I was pretty surprised that I liked it once again. So we're 3 for 3.
That's amazing.
Also, Connor, rumor has it I saw this when I was just a fetus about 4 years ago, and I don't remember it. But yeah, I liked it. I had no idea that Leonard Nimoy directed it, so that was pretty cool. But yeah, initial thoughts. I feel like they're just getting better and better, so that's pretty cool. Jordan.
I
just need to make sure
Jordan.
he's not going to get skipped.
I got it here in my notes in bold.
Okay.
Don't forget Jordan.
All right. I'm also not going to forget Jordan, just in case.
Well,
Like a 40-year-old woman at a Lifehouse concert. Just keep in touch with Jordan.
Okay, well, that's pre-show discussion. I don't think that this film is underrated, and I don't really think it's overrated. I think it's just rated exactly where it should be. I think it's the 4th best of the 6 films. I think it's a good bridge between Star Trek 2 and Star Trek 4 for the trilogy. I think it's the weakest of the 3, but it's not a bad movie at all. I guess it'd be like being the weakest of the first 3 Star Wars trilogy. Like, they're all pretty good. But I liked it more than I remembered. And Jocelyn's right, like tonally, especially from going TMP to Wrath of Khan is such a tonal shift. I think this is kind of even completely different from that. In the 4th movie, we'll get a little more of a shift. But it's weird seeing this movie, them not in Starfleet uniforms like hardly at all, and that'll continue into the next film. So it does feel kind of like a sci-fi movie, but you'd still have the Enterprise and those Star Trek elements. But Jeremy, what did you think?
Yeah, I think it's also a super strong outing, much stronger than a lot of people give it credit for. I do think the fact that it is sandwiched between two wonderfully entertaining films hurts its credit a bit, but I thoroughly enjoyed it too. Wow, this is exciting. 3 for 3. We're doing great. It's just going to keep on going throughout the year, I think. I don't think there's going to be a dud among them. Connor, why don't you kick it off with your top 3 pros?
We got to talk about the Shat. Like, can we talk about the Shat, please? The Shatnator is, he's great. He is incredible in this movie. He is he just has so many great quips and lines and really good delivery.
Shatting all over the place.
Sure is.
And we're off.
And we're just eating it up.
I quite like the line. It's like, well, Captain, what did he say? He said no, which means we're going anyway. Like, it's so great. Because I expected there's going to be a scene where he's like, he has to tell everyone, like, all right, I think we have to break regulation. He's like, no, we're going. Like, I love that. I love the line, you Klingon bastard, you killed my son. He said it a lot better than that, but it was really great delivery on his part. Also, Kirk is great in this movie, just as a character, kind of continuing on the arc from the last one. Like blowing up the Enterprise, you have like that, my God, Bones, what have I done? And it really got me. But it was a really clever thing to do, to have all the Klingons beam on, and then the ship blows up. So he was great in this movie. Like he still has the Shat. This is like more so than any other one of these movies. Like everyone does important things in this, and I really like that. We see like Chekhov and Uhura and Scotty actually appear and do stuff, because most of the time they don't even move from their desk unless it's to fake a prank explosion. You failed the Kobayashi Maru. Bro, you just got punked. Yeah, future Ashton Kutcher, everybody.
He is not allowed on the podcast after he stole Jeremy's Orville Shagenbacher song. So.
That's right.
Exactly. We've never forgiven them for that.
We are not on speaking terms anymore.
Yeah, we're in a vicious copyright battle. They used to be the best of friends.
I'll never forgive him for the death of Jeremy's song.
Or forget.
I quite like what's his name? Kruge? Yeah. I'm sorry. Why am I blanking on this actor's name?
Christopher Lloyd.
Christopher Lloyd. I was about to say the guy who played the main villain in Food Fight. That's a
Food Fight?
Yeah, one of the worst animated movies of all time.
It's not one of the top Christopher Lloyd movies.
No, it has Charlie Sheen in it as the main.
Christopher Lloyd reference?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Look at
The best you could come up with?
I'm so sorry. I had to go for the deep cut. Christopher Lloyd is really enjoyable in this movie as a Klingon. He's wonderfully over the top. Side note, I love his Targ, and I hope nothing bad happens to that Targ, everybody. But side note, that Targ prop is so freaking cool. Like, I mean, it's disgusting. Like, that's a nasty pet. It's slimy. Put it down, but it's adorable.
What? Put it down?
But I
You're a monster too. You get it from your dad.
Yeah, but when I'm a monster, it's adorable and endearing.
What about when I'm a monster?
It's just fat jokes and fat shaming.
How dare you?
Search out of
I'm
There's no sound bar.
Look at him go.
He has this look of determination on his face. He's like, I'm gonna find the perfect soundbite.
I don't know what I was looking
I'll
for.
show you.
Yeah.
I'll show you all. Yeah, I thought he was great, and I love the scene where they accidentally blow up the science ship, and he shoots the guy for, it's like, I wanted prisoners, and he vaporizes him in the most horrifying way. I personally thought this movie was really good, and I think it's way better than the first one. It's not Wrath of Khan or Nemesis, but this is, I think, one of my favorite Star Trek movies I've seen thus far.
Very good.
Yeah.
Thank you, Connor. Lita, top pros.
I think one of my favorite pros is actually David's little green jumpsuit. It has this wonderful belt and shoulder embellishments, and it really was a shame when he got stabbed. Because he died, but also the outfit.
It ruined the outfit. That was the problem.
Yeah. Sad. Also, I loved Happy Hour with the crew. That was wonderful and sad and sweet, but it also had these wild fashion moments that everybody was just so, wearing their statement outfit. They laid it out on their bed the night before, and they were real excited about what they're going to wear with everyone. Crystal Kitty headdress lady from the temple was amazing. The entire Vulcan Mountain Temple outfit situation was wonderful. And I don't know, I think that Vulcan is one of my favorite locations and worlds for them to go to. It's always so cool with the red rocks and everything. I don't know. It just had really good acting in it from some of the people that we've seen so many times. But I think McCoy was my favorite. He was just in his zone in this movie. He was doing his old gripey McCoy thing while also trying to be Spock at the same time. And it was really sweet. It was just kind of a fun, weird, and I think, Jocelyn, you said it, campy storyline. But that's kind of what we want out of Star Trek sometimes. We don't need space fights the entire time. And I like that it also tied into the continuation of the Genesis plot. It was a fun movie. There were so many different things going on in it, but they made it work. Lots of different things to talk about later, but I enjoyed it. What about you, Jocelyn?
Yes, I would like to spend all my time on the fashion, please. The first major fashion moment is Valkyris, the female Klingon who comes to deliver the Genesis data to Kruge, who is apparently her lover, but doesn't love her enough to, pardon her, taking a glance, she reads one of his emails, and he's like, you know what you have to do. Anyway, that dress, I love the signature female Klingon cleavage. They're, covered in battle gear up to the neck, down to the wrists, but, always this little boob window. Just, I guess so that you know that they're a woman Klingon and not a man Klingon. Very binary culture. You mentioned the happy hour outfits. As someone who has been used to working in a uniform and working with people in uniforms, and then you see them out of their uniform at when we used to have happy hours, it's so exciting. And this was so exciting because these feel like people I know and I see them at work all the time, the Star Trek crew. But the standout from that is Sulu, more than any of them, in that brown leather cape jacket, underneath of which, don't miss it, he has a turquoise wrap top with purple piping under a neutral toned brown suit with matching pocket square. More on him in the neutral zone, but that was amazing. Yes, claps for Sulu, who also just generally had a great movie. This movie, this was it was wow, Sulu, hello, I notice you now. Saavik, it was the only one wearing those awesome utility jackets from Wrath of Khan, and they're awesome, so I love that jacket. The Klingon utility trench vest from the leader when they board the Enterprise. I thought that thing was awesome. The duster that goes all the way down to the bottom. Speaking of Klingon fashion, the kind of gold and teal necklace that Kruge wears is just this nice little detail. It was kind of that. I don't know, very form-fitting. Yeah, I can't really see it in that picture where he's being strangled by whatever that thing is. But just like a little embellishment that says, yeah, I'm a villain, but I like to be a little different. I like to stand out. Lita, you already mentioned the majesty of the Vulcan televangelist who rose Spock from the dead. She looked gorgeous. And then lastly, McCoy's cravat, which makes several appearances throughout the movie and does never disappoint. So it was just a feast for the eyes, this movie, and not a dull moment. And I forgot Christopher Lloyd is in it. I forgot John Larroquette. I don't know how to say his last name, but from Night Court. Mm-hmm. I don't know how I recognized him through his Klingon, forehead and hair and everything, but something about it. And then the Savick replacement, Robin Curtis, I'm on board. I thought she was good. More about the hair later, but so those are my top pros.
Fantastic. Thank you, Jocelyn. Chelsea, what are your top pros?
All right, top 3. Let's start with the guy in the bar that was with Bones.
Yeah.
Huge pro for me. I don't know if he was supposed to be funny, but he was. He kind of looked like how I picture Marilyn Manson would look if he morphed into a uglier alien. And this did come out in 1984. So maybe that's what Manson modeled his entire appearance on. Nobody knows.
I think I read that somewhere.
Yeah. Also, at first I thought that his weird little feather hairs on top were like a spider, and I freaked out. And then I was like, no, it's just weird hair. Right. Next.
And that guy is the guy that we've been waiting 7 years.
Yeah. Yes. So I didn't even know. Okay, so this whole time, Connor, I thought that was you, just being hilarious.
Oh, thank you. No, I got it from the source.
That wasn't you.
Genius did.
I felt a little betrayed. I also loved seeing, Connor kind of touched on this, just the crew acting super rebellious. Obviously, when Kirk says, he said no, but I'm going to go anyway, was fantastic. But when Scotty sabotages the Excelsior and it breaks down like a total shit box right outside of the space station, I live for that. And it would have been funny, but the fact that the captain was such an arrogant jerk, it just made it so much better. And then I think my last top pro is Targs. I know they're not especially cute, but just the idea that Klingons have pets that are dogs, it makes me love them even more. And also gave me a cool Halloween idea for our dog for Halloween.
Counter idea. There's an episode of Star Trek the original series where they have an alien kind of dog.
Yeah.
And it's like a corgi, but they have a rubber suit around it with rubber spikes coming out.
No, that's not a corgi.
But it has a dog's head.
Yeah, it's not a corgi.
Much easier costume for us to put together.
I'll have to show you an image of it later.
Is Basil
amazing.
cool with hot glue?
I don't know. I guess we'll find out. Yeah. I honestly don't think he'd feel it through his ridiculous fur.
Could we go as Klingons?
And he could be our Targ.
Yeah, you could be the female Klingon.
Okay. Boob window?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
Awesome.
Or I guess we both could just.
And I'll be Harry Mudd.
Oh, you're going to have a boob window too?
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, me too. Yeah.
Still March.
It's a family thing.
It's a family boob window.
All right. Anyway, that's it for my top pros, Jordan.
All right. Well, I wanted to say to Lita that if she loves campy Star Trek, just wait till you watch Star Trek 5.
I am excited.
I mean, most of you guys have touched on what my top 3 pros are, which is I felt that Uhura kills it with the little amount that she gets is impactful. Sulu gets to have some moments here. Scotty was great as well. Even Chekhov gets his moment at the very end of the film when he finds the right button for the antimatter inducer. It takes him kind of the whole film to really get anything, but he gets it. And I kind of talked about this in the opening, just the contrast of styles between the motion picture and then going to The Wrath of Khan, which was pretty dark, to this film, which is pretty lighthearted. I liked just the character interactions and everything that we get here. And I think a pro and a con is Spock not really being in the film, but it gives the time to these other characters that they needed. And then lastly, I think Lita mentioned this too, I love seeing Vulcan, and I feel like we never get to see enough. And I forgot how much they kind of show of Vulcan here, and it gave me very much throwback feelings to Amok Time and how that's done. And I think Leonard Nimoy has a very good grasp on Vulcan and kind of fleshing out the Vulcan mysticism and that part of their culture. So, what about you, Jeremy?
Yeah, this movie is the reason people seem to think Kirk is always a rule breaker, but even his boss in the clip that we played used it as a reminder that he's not a rule breaker. This is what makes this so special, how this movie works so well. Kirk is by the book Starfleet officer that cared about the captain's seat more than anything else in the universe, at least until now. The powerful point of this film is that Kirk risks everything to get Spock and McCoy back, and he ends up paying that price. He loses his command, he loses his ship, and he loses his son. So this is a huge turning point for that character that until this point has been by the book. I talked about the supporting crew, and you guys have too, getting more to do and in the Wrath of Khan, and yeah, they definitely got bumped up in this installment. Scotty sabotaging the Excelsior, Sulu taking on the gigantic security officer, don't call me tiny, and doing so, like you said, Jocelyn, with that fabulous jacket and cloak. Oh, I would love. I mean, I couldn't pull it off like George Takei, but man, it looks so awesome in it. And Uhura owning that weird-faced brat. Oh, you want to see action, kid? The only thing you need to be seeing is a face doctor because yours is broke, son.
Oh, got him. Is that a bomb?
I guess it was a rocket launch.
Oh, okay.
SpaceX.
I guess Chekhov got the short straw of this movie, but he did have a decent role in the last one, and he's got a good role in the next one, so he's the odd man out. But as you alluded to, Jordan, he did really press the hell out of that one button, and he did a good job. And lastly, I really love David in this film. I'm so thankful they gave Merritt Buttrick a chance to be something other than whiny, and he really succeeded here. Which is a great thing, because if it were David from Wrath of Khan being killed, it would not have had the same impact as it ends up having. So great job all around, and I'm glad that they were able to fix that character before shanking him to death. Connor, remaining pros.
Remaining pros. Oh, let me tell you something. Let's talk about Sulu, the manlet king himself. One of my favorite moments in the film, and as a short person, I really found this very cathartic, is when the guy calls him Tiny, and then Sulu beats him up, and he says, "Don't call me Tiny."
That's right, Connor. That's what I'll do to you if you keep bullying me.
It's not your fault. Yeah, I believe in you. You'll get there one day, Sporto. Let's talk about the Savick, right? I think she was way better in this movie because of good old Kurt. Kurt Cobain did a really great job as Savick in this movie. And
a very broody Vulcan.
This movie does smell like nerd spirit. I like Savick a lot in this movie. I think I was kind of confused by her watching The Wrath for Khan. I'm like, is she a Romulan? Why is she emoting? I mean, I'm not saying her acting was bad, but she didn't. I was confused. Like, that's not a Vulcan in like the traditional sense. But I think that good old Kurt really nails Savick as a character.
Are you talking about Robin Curtis here, correct?
Yeah.
Good old Kurt.
They were some big shoes to fill.
Yeah. Hey, that's awful. We have to talk about the Excelsior captain, because this is I aspire to be this man. I don't understand. Maybe there's a time travel story of this 18th century posh English gentleman who's been transported into the future, but he's like a noble, so he's bought his way into like the captaincy. Like, that's how I imagine this guy got this command, because he has like a beating stick. Like, what?
It's like a riding crop.
Yeah, he has like a
he
horse
just got
whip.
off his space horse and went right to work.
He's playing polo, and now he's on the bridge.
Yeah.
He's Captain Esteban.
Oh, yeah. Well, he has a horse whip for some reason, and I imagine that he also has like flintlock pistols, Like on away missions, he doesn't use a phaser. He just like starts dueling Klingons with like flintlock pistols like a madman. Also, I kind of identify with Lil Spock in this movie because as someone who grew overnight, I kind of understand what it's like.
I thought you meant you had to mate so badly that you almost destroyed a planet.
Well, that too.
And I can attest to
touching on the pung far later on in the
yeah.
Oh, for sure. I can attest to the screaming as he's having growing pains. Eerily similar.
Scared little cold Vulcan noises.
Yeah.
We do leave them in the snow.
Yeah, naked. I'm just shivering alone.
As Star Trek taught me, it's the only way they grow.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. I'm not going to drag things out.
Well, thank you, Connor.
Yeah. Like I always do. But I'm becoming a better podcaster. It's part of my character arc.
Thank you, Connor. Lita, remaining pros?
Okay. I didn't really have a ton to say, but the best quote of the whole movie is McCoy saying, "Well, I choose the danger." Just like, obviously, that was adorable. And I don't know. I just got a serious McCoy crush this whole movie, I think.
So good. I choose the danger. Ah.
Danger is risk is our business?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lita. Jocelyn, remaining pros.
It's so funny that you say that, Lita, because my favorite McCoy line from this is like the line right after that, where he kind of looks like right and left and he goes, "Hell of a time to ask." Like, see, there's McCoy. Like, that's like true McCoy to me. Saavik and Uhura, they clearly go to the same hairdresser, and I just think it's sweet that they do that. I just picture them side by side, getting their curls set in that little mullet, whatever that is. Speaking of Uhura, they gave her actual lines and things to do and a personality. So clearly they've been listening to our notes here on the show. So I thought that was kind of them as well. The appearance of Sarek when he has that first conversation with Kirk, I feel like is just such a cool scene. Just to see him and the actor who plays Sarek, whose name I can't remember right now, I didn't write down, but like his acting is so good. And when he like realizes that he thinks Spock wasn't able to mind meld with somebody before he died, and it's just like, it's so sad. And I don't know, I just totally bought it. And also his appearance is what gets everything rolling. So it wasn't just like egregious pandering to our emotions. The Grand Theft spaceship chase scene out of the docking bay was like the slowest car chase in history, but like it made me laugh. And everyone that was really like their personalities came out. I thought it was pretty funny. And then the part where they're keying in the destruct sequence, I felt like was so cool because they didn't give us this like huge preamble to it. Like everyone left the bridge and it's like the three of them knew what was going on. They didn't need to tell anybody else and they just kind of keyed it in. And then of course, when the Klingon team comes on the ship and he's like, "Nobody's here, only the computer is trying to say something." And he's like, "Let me hear it." And then like that like famous moment, I love that. And just like the way they all look at Spock at the end when he's like walking towards them and the way they kind of reveal him like fully for the first time, I thought was pretty impactful. So I had two neutral zone things. The first is the indulgent exorbitance of the opening credit montage. Like, we don't get that anymore. You don't get like scenes of space and clouds over James Horner type music in movies anymore. And I kind of miss that a little bit. And then that anyone was surprised to find out George Takei was gay has clearly never seen this movie. Like, come on. He's fabulous. So, yeah, well, that's it.
Thank you, Jocelyn. Chelsea, you got any remaining pros?
I do. I have quite a few. I was pretty excited that we finally had a movie without hero shots of the Enterprise. Instead, they kind of did a 180 and just blew the whole thing up.
Because they listened to our notes.
The former part of that statement was a pro, and I haven't quite decided what the latter is. Jocelyn touched on this. Sulu's leather jacket cape was awesome. He kind of looked like an old school like James Bond villain, and I really don't feel confident that many people can pull that off. But leave it to George Takei. Shatner's performance was amazing, especially the part when you find out that David was killed. Like the way he kind of handled that was great. Christopher Lloyd is the main villain. He looked weirdly young, even though he was in like full Klingon makeup. So it was kind of weird. Obviously, Sarek is always cool. Miguel Ferrer, also known as Albert from Twin Peaks, y'all.
Whoa.
Wait, who was he?
He was the...
Did he even have a speaking line?
No, he did, but he was like unnamed. He was on the Grissom.
He was like the pilot of the Grissom.
Was he the yeah, something like that.
He was in one of those seats, the front seats.
Hey, maybe I need to watch Twin Peaks.
Oh my gosh,
I
you
want to get
have
these
to.
jokes.
Yeah.
I do.
All these Phantom Menace references are going over my head.
Yeah, it's bizarre, but great. And then I really love how ritualistic the Vulcans are. They have a ritual for everything. And I want a ritual for everything. And I don't know why, but the heart wants what the heart wants. So I admire them.
I do love that about them, how they're so deeply rooted in logic. But then anything you have to do is there's insane, you can't explain it rituals that have to go with everything. And
Fight
I
to
love
the death.
Yeah.
Like
I love
the
that combination.
mysticism.
Yeah.
It's so cool. Yeah. I don't know. The Vulcans are awesome. Yeah, that's all I believe of my additional pros. Jordan, what you got?
I've got a lot. So actually, I thought instead of doing like this long drawn out list of pros that I could just maybe share my mind with you, Jeremy, and like make the podcast a little shorter.
Of course.
So, all right, here it comes. Well, actually, you know what? I don't want to see what's in there. This could be a little scary. I like that this film takes place right after the Wrath of Khan, and there's not really a whole lot of time for the characters or for us to really dissect what's happened. And I think that's important for the way that this film plays out. I like that when the Enterprise returns, I actually have a shot of Yeoman Rand, who's now, I guess, ensign or lieutenant, and she's just kind of looking at the battle damage from the Enterprise, and it's just kind of like a hollow victory. Like they beat Khan, but they lost Spock, and I guess Carol Marcus died, because I don't know where she is. She's not even talked about at all, but I guess that's not too important for the plot. Kirk's opening log I thought was really good, and just opening with a captain's log just makes it feel so much more like the original series and so much more like Star Trek. There's a lot of quotable lines from this film as well. Scotty's line, "If my grandmother had wheels, she'd be a wagon," is just ridiculousness, but I love it, and I've remembered that line since I was a kid. And it brings a smile to my face every time I hear him say that. I also didn't remember the subsequent line by Kirk where he says, "Now come, Mr. Scott, young minds, fresh ideas, be tolerant." Like, wait, what? Is this woke Trek? Come on. Enough of that talk, chat.
Shat in the hat.
I really didn't remember the Genesis device becoming like this galactic controversy is what they refer to it as, and it makes a lot of sense. Like the Federation behind everyone's back has come up with this super powerful, what could be a weapon, and didn't really tell anyone about it. And then the Klingons find out about it. So the plot in this movie is a little thin, and I'll talk about that in the cons. But I did like this element of the plot a lot. Everyone's outfit, except Chekhov's. Chekhov looks like he's wearing like pajamas of some sort. Like, poor Chekhov. This is just not his film, so we'll have to wait for the next one. Sarek is awesome. Mark Leonard coming back after playing really two roles. The first Romulan we see, and then Spock's father, ambassador to Vulcan, Sarek, and he does a phenomenal job. And I think he's coming off as like a jerk at first. I'd kind of forgotten all the elements of the scene. I haven't seen Star Trek 3 in quite some time, and I thought his performance was really good. And then once he finds out, that Spock wasn't able to give his contract to Kirk. He's much more understanding, and he's even appreciative at the end of the film towards Kirk and what he did and what he gave up. And I thought their interactions throughout the film were fantastic. I liked the Vulcan mysticism, like Chelsea said, like the ceremony of everything, and it harkens back to Amok Time with the Kunat Caliphie and, like, you know, the battle to the death. And I just love seeing Vulcan, and we got to see just a little taste of it in the first film, but it was just, there wasn't really much to it. The way that guy says Genesis, I did not know inspired the way that Connor says Nemesis. I had kind of forgotten about that. Genesis, just so. That guy's like in the neutral zone for me because I can't make him a pro. He's like if Yoda was a Marilyn Manson cosplayer. I don't know.
If Yoda was sexy.
Sure.
Well, I was watching this with Sean, and he goes, "Is this like the Jar Jar Binks character of Star Trek?" And I was like, "Ooh, shots fired."
No, he wasn't in the film long enough for that. He didn't ruin the franchise. So, Bones and Spock, I just love that interaction and that relationship, and it deserved to have more time on screen. I was really bummed about how it was played out in the motion picture. And the Wrath of Khan, you know, they get some moments there too, but I love just Bones in general in this film, and kind of having Spock in his head is just like probably the worst thing that could happen to him if you asked him. And it's just like a type of torture for Bones. But at the same time, like, he loves Spock. And he kind of has to admit that here. Like, he actually kind of missed Spock. And then Bones trying to nerve pinch a Federation security officer was pretty great. I love that scene. He like tries it twice and it's not working. This movie is really just like an original series crew doing a heist film, a really slow heist, as you pointed out, Jocelyn. Like, will the doors open for 2 minutes? Will the doors open? But it's great. And William Shatner gives another really good performance. It's a little uneven, in my opinion. There are a few lines here and there, but overall, really good, and particularly the second half of the film. And I did like his sarcasm. Like, in the first half of the film, he's super sarcastic, and I love that. And the fight scene between Kruge and Kirk it's so weird, but who could forget that scene? Like, I have had enough of you, as he's kicking him in the face. Like, I will never forget that. It is so cheesy and so great. It's kind of awful and great at the same time. And this film just has a really happy ending. And it even says, like, you know, the adventure continues. It's the opposite of The Wrath of Khan, where you think Spock has died, and this is just like the rebirth of Spock and these characters continuing their mission. And then lastly, I'd say, as far as pros, that scene where Sarek comes in and Kirk thinks it's Scotty. Like, that scene is often memed over the last few years because those are the only characters from the original series that are still alive, is, you know, Uhura, Chekhov, Sulu, and Kirk. So that's just kind of a touching scene to watch now and be like, man, like, to absent friends, and just has a different meaning now. Aside from that, I have several neutral zones. It's kind of unusual that they started with a scene from The Wrath of Khan to me, because we had just watched The Wrath of Khan. For the theater goers, it makes sense. And I guess that was an inclusion by Harv Bennett, who had written for TV, and he thought it was important for the viewers to come back if they missed a week, that they kind of get filled in on what they missed. Now, he kind of admits that most people coming to see this film did not miss the previous film, so it was probably a bit superfluous. But Kruge's Targ is, for some reason, slimy all over. Like, I don't know if he's eating chicken wings and gawk and just rubbing his hands and using his Targ as a napkin, but it was disgusting looking. It looked like an undead, like, wolf dog. It was still somehow cute, but really slimy. Like it'd been sneezed all over it.
That Targ reminded me of how much I miss, like, Jim Henson creatures in movies. And how much, like, the CGI, even if it's really, really good, just isn't as good as seeing a thing that you know is, like, half someone's hand stuck up in there moving it around, half animatronic, all hair, glue, and, you know, whatever that slimy stuff is.
This next one should probably be in the cons, but I have a neutral zone, so I'm just going to say it now so I don't forget. All the other Federation ships in this movie are terrible. Like, the Excelsior looks like the Enterprise let itself go and has been living above an old country buffet. The Grissom looks like it thinks it's windy in space, so it's holding its hat with both of its hands. Like, that ship design is just like, oh, I hope the saucer section doesn't blow away. Like, what the heck? It just, I don't know who designed that. But why is it wearing a hat? It has no neck. What? Makes no sense. Where's Carol? I think I said that 3 times, but whatever. They don't talk about it. I guess she's not important to the film because they have David, but it would have been nice to... I thought she was on the Enterprise. I guess Kirk just dropped her off again, and... They use... I said so much footage from the previous Star Trek that this movie should have been called The Menagerie Part 3. Like, my goodness, they reused the Genesis footage, the Spock footage, they reusing the explosions, reusing everything. I know they're on a budget, but come on. Robin Curtis is fine as a Vulcan, but she is a jarring contrast to Kirstie Alley's portrayal of the same character just moments ago in The Wrath of Khan. So to recast a character and make them, they even give her like the pointed eyebrows, the more classic look. She has curly hair, like nothing. She looks completely different. Like, am I to buy that this is the same person I just saw? Like, what? Kind of ridiculous. She does a fine job, but she basically is female Spock, like be emotionless, but without the nuance. I don't know. They really need to change from their default passwords. This is probably a con too. Seriously, they're using the same passwords that they used 30 years ago. It's like 0, 0, 0. Like that's the default Bluetooth password when you're pairing a device. 0, 0, 0. Minus the
idiot has on his luggage.
Yeah, exactly. Samsonite. Yeah, that's pretty much it for the neutral zone. I didn't have a lot of cons. Some of those probably should be in the cons, but whatever. Jeremy, anything that you liked about this film?
Oh, yes. And I might have to be corrected because it's off the top of my head, but we do have even more amazing firsts in Star Trek. The freaking Bird of Prey, one of the greatest ships in the history of sci-fi. Oh, I love that thing. On the opposite side of that, the Excelsior. We get to see the Excelsior.
Excelsior!
The Kirstie Alley of starships.
Dude.
Not like that. Just
if it wasn't like that, you wouldn't have said it.
I think that might be the first of that starbase, like the mushroom starbase, like the huge starbase. I think that's the first time we see that, and I love those. And
that's like regular one upside down.
It sure is. That's crazy.
No, it is a new one. It's the first time we see that.
And we get the actual Klingon language, not just Mark Leonard and James Doohan making guttural noises in their throat in the motion picture. This is actual, like, they wrote a language. You even hear Qapla' for the first time, which is their hello and goodbye, because they don't have hello and goodbye in the Klingon language. They have success. Qapla'!
Yeah, I love when they were singing our favorite Klingon song, Poopload of Kalis. That's the director's cut.
We couldn't have a Poopload of Kalis without this language.
Exactly.
Or, as in the original English, a shatload of Kalis. Sung by William Shatner.
Kalis.
That just makes you want to start singing.
See, it's such a great song, but I can't take it seriously because of the without the poop load, I would have been like this is like I would have gotten chills from like that cool song.
That's real?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I may have doctored it a bit, but those are what they.
You heard poop load?
It's a poop load of Kalis is the name.
I heard poop lord.
Yeah.
Oh, this changes everything.
Wow. Good one.
Poop Lord Kalish.
Maybe Kruge is the poop lord.
Maybe we're all a poop lord.
He is in my heart. The Klingon uniforms, those like silver uniforms, we see those going forward in like next gen, and of course Targs. We haven't seen Targs before, so a lot of great Klingon stuff. You guys have been talking about how awesome McCoy is, which he super is. The two lines that I love from him that haven't been mentioned yet is that green-blooded son of a bitch. It's his revenge for all the arguments he lost. Great. So McCoy. And of course, my God, man, how can you be deaf with ears like that? so great. And he did have a very touching scene with Spock, just them together and him admitting how much that he misses him and wants him back, which is so touching. I just love how great the character of Kirk is. He's in a heavily wounded starship, and he still got a great shot on that bird of prey as it decloaked. That was so cool. And then he did what he always does. He turned death into a fighting chance to live by luring the Klingons to a ship and doing the unthankful, destroying the Enterprise. It's just another wonderful Kirk outing, and an equally great performance again by Shatner. You Klingon bastards! You killed my son! And I'm like finding it, like losing his footing and not finding the chair when he falls back. He crushed it, man. Shatner's so great. And like you guys mentioned, it's always wonderful to see Mark Leonard back as Sarek. He brings so much to that role. And gotta mention Christopher Lloyd, man, this movie is just in Kruge Control because he is killing it. I love him so much. Like, what a run he's on, because this is 84. In 85, he's Doc Brown in Back to the Future. And then, personally, as a kid at that point, in 87, 88, he did Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which was a huge movie for me because I was 10. And just a great run of movies of him.
Yeah,
in 88?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then in 2000, he stars as the main villain in the hit movie Food Fight.
I was going to get to that.
Yeah, Food Fight and Who Framed Roger Rabbit have a huge part in our childhood because we watched Who Framed Roger Rabbit a lot as kids, which we probably shouldn't have. And we had a game for the Atari called Food Fight.
Oh.
Yeah.
You throw food back and
And
different thing.
And remember our neighbors had the Who Framed Roger Rabbit computer game. And so we would go over to their house to play.
And
so that was a fun game.
And Connor, Food Fight was based on the Atari game. I don't know if you knew that.
The Charlie Sheen is the main character.
Oh.
Yeah.
So it's based on something else.
It's based on nightmares.
Wait, was Kirstie Alley in?
Jordan, watch yourself.
Can you believe this guy?
Yeah.
Kirstie Alley's becoming the new sphincter of this podcast.
Voyage Home is just going to be Lita and I and Chelsea. And everyone's going to wonder why.
Yeah, because they're just going to make whale jokes about Kirstie Alley.
I haven't said a single bad thing about Kirstie Alley.
How dare you? How dare you steal that from me? Speaking of which, I was a bit harsh on Kirstie Alley in our Wrath of Khan cast, just in terms of character. I was unfortunately peer pressured into bullying her, and I know that's no excuse, but it was everyone else's fault but mine. I do like her, and that being said, I still stand by my take that Robin Curtis as Saavik is a stronger character, in my opinion, and I really liked her in this movie.
Didn't you start the fat jokes?
It's a shame we really don't get much more from her going forward.
With apologies like these, who needs insults?
Wait, sorry you feel that way. Oh.
I think we'll get into it in our Undiscovered Country podcast in a few months, but if memory serves, Saavik was supposed to play a prominent part of that story before it was recast as a new character, and we'll get into that. But I wish we saw more of Robin Curtis as Saavik. I thought she was really, really good here. And all right, that's what we got for pros. And when we come back from the commercial break, we will jump into my friends. If you have $1 or more you can live without, please consider becoming a Patreon member. Now, with over 50 episodes for you to listen to, it is a great time to join. For as low as $1 a month, you have access to every special we've ever done, covering a wide array of topics such as movies.
And just seeing Iron Man just fight terrorists, and now he's fighting Thanos. So
Did you just say Thanos?
Thanos.
I don't feel comfortable with
I don't either.
television. I think he's innocent of all crime, so free Joe Exotic, I say.
Really?
His only crime is, how long did Milli Vanilli serve?
What?
Video games.
He's like Splinter, except that he has 3 massive blades that he's carrying, and one blade he's carrying with his tail. They're called Weeping Blades, and he just mulches like enemy lords and whatnot. And it's great.
Last time I saw Weeping Blade was when Wesley Snipes went to jail for tax evasion. And our ongoing coverage of the groundbreaking series Babylon 5.
But it makes sense, right? Like, where are you going to house cows on a spaceship?
Space cows.
Right.
Space cows.
The stakes have never been higher.
I like that. Oh.
So if you want access to every bonus episode we've ever done, or just like to support us here at Star Trek Wars, please donate to our Patreon page at patreon.com/Star Trek Wars.
Yes, my entire family's being targeted, but we don't have time to save them right now because I'm on a date with Patreon.
All right, Connor, why don't you kick us off with your top 3?
Still echoing.
With your top 3 cons.
Okay. So, number 1, we gotta talk about these Vulcan outfits because, in my opinion, they're straight out of Masters of the Universe.
I'm listening.
Yeah. Kids, if you don't know what Master of the Universe is, it was a big steaming piece of doo-doo, as Jar Jar Binks so eloquently put all those years ago.
I'm no longer listening.
He said poodoo. He said poodoo. That's what Jar Jar said. I'm sorry. I mangled the words of our prophet. I don't care for the outfits. They look like they're bought at like a Halloween store. Anyway. It's time for the Star Trek clip show. Maybe it's just because I watched like The Wrath of Khan like 10 days ago or whatever. But I felt like this was completely unnecessary. I don't think it kind of, I don't know. It was kind of odd. And part of this is, I call this the clip show, is that they have like, you know, Kirk's like, reverse this image, reverse that image. And it's like exact clips from the movie, and I'm like, wow, I'm glad that these security cameras got these really nice cinematic angles for Spock's step.
Close-ups.
Yeah, he pulls out the VHS for Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. That's right out of Spaceballs, isn't it?
Yeah. Like it was. I found that a little odd, but we have to talk about my biggest con because this is the only scene in the movie that not only did I outright hate, I thought it was genuinely uncomfortable. We need to talk about. Listen, we need
I
to
know
have the
where
talk.
you're going with this.
I
We need
don't.
to have the
Same.
talk.
We exchanged weird looks during the movie.
I like this. This disgusted me. Okay, number one. I don't know if I should say that. Listen. Ponfar does not seem that hard to beat. Okay, just give this kid a data slate. Let him run in the woods for 15 minutes. He comes back and bam, Ponfar is done. Everything's fine. Okay, like it's not hard. It's not rocket science, people. Secondly, this scene was nasty. So you got this like this horn dog teenager / 8-year-old. I don't know how like so Vulcans when they turn 7. Like, is it when they turn 7?
It said adult life, so I was thinking like 21.
Yeah.
Was he?
But he looked like he was about 14.
And then Kirstie, Kurt. It was Kurt.
Savick?
Yeah, Savick.
Okay, there you go.
Good old Kurt started running her fingers on his hands, and I was like, "Bro, you need to slow down, Buster."
He's just trying to get his Spocks off.
Oh, no! So gross!
Oh, yeah.
No!
No. And she's like run, and you explained, well, it's not weird because she's doing a Vulcan calming exercise, and I'm like, that doesn't make it any less weird. This kid's like shivering because he just he wants to do his thing, and he's just like shivering in anticipation, and she's just like touching his hand. I'm like, if the roles were reversed, you would go to jail for that because that's nasty. Okay, I did not care for this scene one bit. It made me uncomfortable. Because I watched it with my family. It made me uncomfortable. It was gross. It was nasty. I denounce. I repudiate. Basically, I didn't like it.
You hate it just because I insisted we do that finger thing before I tuck you in it at night.
I don't like the correlation.
It's a beautiful thing.
I'm calling the police.
Yeah, and I pull my mask off. I'm Chris Hansen. And you're on Dateline NBC. Oh, wait, I cashed faulty checks.
Oof.
That was it.
Okay, thank you, Connor.
Oh, you're welcome.
Lita, top cons.
Right. I will just continue on your top con with my first and most important con. Saavik really just made Spock into a man, and we all watched it. That was creepy. Was this an avenue we really needed to explore? Like, also, if the Ponfar is every 7 years after adult life, this poor lady would have had blisters on her fingers by the time they got off the planet. She's like, oh my god, now. Oh, that was terrible.
She's all calloused.
No reasons. Also, who is in charge of styling Chekhov? Why'd they have to do him so dirty? He looks like a Pepto Bismol Pilgrim. It's not good. I don't know.
Bismol.
Yeah. And Lord
What do
Kruge.
they do?
You don't want to
Bring
know.
relief from England for eating
They
too much
visit
corn?
after you
Like,
finish
what?
your Thanksgiving meal.
I can't drink water no more. I only drink Pepto Bismol.
Lord Kruge did not hit it for me. I couldn't see him as anything else other than Doc. And also his eyes were so red, I kept expecting him to like pop his bong out from behind his captain's chair. It was like, that really necessary? But no, it was fun. I kind of liked hating it a little bit. Yeah. What about you, Jocelyn?
A
Those are
bong
my
full of
top
Pepto
three.
Bismol.
Well, you're not going to believe it, but the first con I have is the underage Vulcan finger bang, which is what I labeled it.
Yeah, I don't remember this being creepy when I watched it before. I think I remembered being like, that's like a maternal thing, but definitely watching it back for whatever reason, I did get a little creeped out. However, we've explored that territory, so moving on. David and Saavik were both very much at Spock's funeral when he was shot out of the Enterprise in his torpedo and landed on the Genesis planet. Then they're back there. We're assuming like what, a week later, and they're like, oh, there's a life form, and it's in like the basic shape of Spock's torpedo coffin, and they're like, well, what could it be? I don't know. Jeez, I wonder what. And then they get down there, and they're like, oh my goodness, wait, what is this? And then they open it, and they're like, what could it? It's like, you guys, you're scientists. I'm sorry, David, you harnessed protomatter and built yourself like a machine that makes planets. And you can't, like, connect the dots here? I don't know. Wasn't buying it. Why is
He didn't even know what a robe is, Jocelyn. He's like, what's this?
What's this? What? Exactly.
What's this fabric material?
Yeah.
How did it get here?
I mean, absolutely. So I don't understand why every Starfleet captain has to be a complete dick, but they just are. Outside of Kirk, apparently, but awful representation of Starfleet leadership in this movie. You guys touched on this already, but is someone going to tell David's mom he died? Is anyone going to just pick up a communicator and phone the lady? awful. What are you people doing? That's her son. Klingon bastards killed her son. And then lastly, Christopher Lloyd, I love him, and he did a really good job of making this character interesting despite the fact that he got no backstory. He got no real setup, no defining characteristics for him except that he has a dog. And I mean,
Targ.
Not every. Pardon me, a targ.
Actually, it's not a dog, guys. It's actually called a targ.
So proud.
I guess if you're an actual dog owner, you may be offended by me calling a targ a dog. So I'll take
Very
that.
offended.
I'll take that note.
and I don't expect every villain to be on the level of God. But like some effort needs to be made here. So I just felt like he did a really good job in that role, and he was let down by kind of the setup of who he was intended to be in the movie. So those are my cons.
Very good. Thank you, Jocelyn. Chelsea? Top cons.
All right, let's do this. Towards the end of the movie. Get ready, guys. This one's not really a huge deal. It's kind of petty, but when they were on Vulcan trying to save Spock and Bones, they showed Sarek, and like his prosthetic ear was a totally different color than his real ear.
Hoping you didn't notice that. Stupid Blu-ray.
It was weird because like the rest of the movie, it looked a little bit more realistic. So I don't know if he like left the set thinking he was done for the day, and then they're like, no, you have to come back and do a reshoot. And so they just kind of like stuck his weird little Vulcan ears on, but like they looked dead. Like his skin is very much a nice, healthy human color, and then his Vulcan ear looks like it's got like.
Hey, Savick, would you mind looking at my...
It was weird, and that's I guess a big con for me because I have no idea what happened in that scene because I could not stop staring at the weird ear.
Spock's back.
Oh, so that's what this was about.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, sorry. And then the guy in the bar that I mentioned earlier, he's a pro, but his mouth is a con.
Oh, okay.
Because why would they put prosthetic lips on real human lips instead of just painting them? It was gross. It was scary. And I'm sorry, Connor, but he had hardcore Frank Azar mouth.
How dare you?
A strong arm?
Hardcore.
You speak blasphemies in this house.
He's got a strong arm, but he's got a weak mouth.
Weak mouth game.
Yeah.
Ugh. Sorry, heard that when it came out. Sorry about that. And then this has been addressed a million times, but I don't care. I'm going into it.
Oh, my.
I'm fully aware that Savick and Spock were doing like the Vulcan calming ritual, but it did seem uncomfortably sexual to me. Maybe that's because he was actively going through Poon Far.
That's not what that's called. It's Pon Far, Chelsea. It's
Like I said, Poon Far, or maybe because
you said it twice. All right.
maybe because I'm just like a weird, corrupt person living in a gross world, but it was awkward. And ironically, watching it with Connor, I felt like the kid watching like a movie with your parents and like a sex scene comes on. It's like, ooh, what do I do?
That's how I felt.
Yeah, I know.
Was I the only one thinking, well, this is great. Nothing weird here.
Absolutely. You
Okay.
were the only one. Even the dog was uncomfortable.
He was defending it the whole time.
What was your indication that the dog was uncomfortable?
I don't know. It's making weird mouth noises or something. I don't know. I got nothing.
He's all slimy looking.
Yeah, he's-
Maybe he was hungry.
Do you own a targ? Is your dog in fact a targ?
He looks a little targish, not like in the slime area, but he's built like an ottoman, so maybe.
A targ doodle is maybe.
Wait, was that a Kirstie Alley joke?
No, I'm not Jeremy Jordan.
Wait, he's made more jokes than me at this point.
Or you, Jordan.
His Shaggy impression. Zoinks, man. We have to cut down these thirsty alley jokes.
Like I said, it's been a while since I've seen this film, and Savick and Spock rubbing digits after he's mere hours old at this point is a little inappropriate, especially given today's current climate, or any climate really. Yeah, that was awkward. I had to Google after this. Like, did Spock and Saavik bone? And there's an article on Reddit, like, did Spock bone Saavik? And they led me down a rabbit hole. And the general consensus is yes. And there was actually a scene cut from this film that showed, which is even more disgusting, in case you were trying to defend these actions, that Robin Curtis is pregnant in that scene, implying that young Spock has impregnated Saavik. So,
isn't that not much different from like is it Cass and Neelix?
Well, that's different.
It's a little different because she was at least
God.
She was at least two. At least two. Like, those are your standards.
Well, I mean,
that's your
she lived to be
argument.
7.
She's
so,
at least
like, she's
two.
got, to keep the species alive, you got it. Anyways, this is. I don't think that we can put our human sensibilities on alien cultures
Yes. Thank you,
and
Jordan.
their own, sensibilities. But
I'm concerned about you.
I would say that if a young Vulcan male does not copulate within a certain period of time, he dies. So Robin Curtis is just saving Spock's life.
Isn't that just like population control, though?
Wow. Yeah.
Listen,
Interesting.
let's not get into the big issues here.
I don't have many cons, honestly, other than, Captain Esteban, a.k.a. Mr. By the Book, with this little polo thing that Connor mentioned. His incompetence actually, maybe a pro, saved Saavik, Spock, and David's lives. Had he beamed them aboard without being like, I gotta call Starfleet because I don't know what to do, they'd be dead right now because that lucky shot. So, come to think of it, he didn't really save David's life. He's dead either way. But Kruge is not fleshed out very well as a villain at all, like what his motives are, what his relationship with Valeris. She's just there. It's like, I love you, and like we don't know why people follow this guy because he seems to just kill them. So I would have liked to seen like a little backstory on how he came to power and why people are following him and why he has kind of this cult following. But Christopher Lloyd does a pretty decent job. He's definitely campy and he works for this film, but he's not my favorite Klingon. Not even my favorite Klingon in the movies. They're still rolling with those security helmets after the motion picture. Like, I thought I could get those helmets canceled, but apparently they did not listen. Those look even worse somehow. Maybe it's that there was 2 of them this time. But no, I don't really have a ton of cons. I went through a lot of them earlier. But Jeremy, anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I don't have a ton of cons either. In fact, I only have 2 cons total, so I'll go ahead and go through them here. Kirk and crew risked their career and life to bring Spock to Vulcan. Then after all of that, these senior citizens have to carry him up a mountain? Like a little help here. Vulcans are twice as strong. Lend a hand. Sarek, you're middle-aged. Jump in here, buddy.
Dude, just park in the bowl. Park in the resurrection bowl.
Just beam them down.
Yeah, as I say, if only they had invented something that would prevent people from ever having to use a stair again.
Beam them to the bowl.
Did we do our top 3 cons?
Yeah. Top cons.
Did I do my top 3 cons?
Oh, that's hard to say, Jordan.
I think you did.
Jordan, do you have more cons?
I do. I don't think I did my top 3 cons.
Oh, well then you can get to that and
skipped again.
I know,
You
you just went
finish,
through
and then
some
I'll go.
cons.
Well, there's like an additional cons, Jordan.
Oh, there's additional.
There's 2
are we
con
doing our
rounds.
top 3 now?
Yes.
You just did them.
I did not. I did my other cons. They're my fault. Listen, whatever. I was afraid I'd get skipped again, so I did my lesser cons. I'll do my top 3 later to make you wait for it.
Jordan, in 5 years, I skipped you once. All right? It won't happen again. It will not happen again.
Chelsea's never going to let you forget.
Sometimes it only takes once
Exactly.
to scare somebody.
Speaking of scary, I discovered a Kirstie Alley button, and I don't want to push it because I'm afraid of what it does.
Based on what your hand was just doing, you do want to push it, so do it. Dude!
Evil! I didn't know. I feared the worst.
You're so
I feared the worst.
full of it.
As if Chelsea didn't already have enough beef with you.
I anticipate a press conference full before the voyage home.
I don't even know who put that button in here, but you're on notice. And then my final con.
We have to cancel Jeremy.
For Night Train
In that
and
way.
for Mrs. Alley.
That final fight scene between Kirk and Kruge. Jordan, you mentioned in Fun Facts last time there was a sword fight planned between Kirk and Khan, but they luckily scrapped that So now we get an even older Kirk fighting Doc Brown with no swords? What are they thinking?
What's the deal with these fight scenes?
Okay, I'm not Seinfeld. All right, that's all I have. Connor, do you have any remaining cons?
I do. We gotta talk about the nasty skunk man. We have to talk about.
In your cons?
He's awful.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
He is.
You know, like he speaks like Jar Jar Binks. Like, why? Why must you speak like that when you look so disgusting?
Traveling or no?
The deal or no? You should take the bongo to the planet core. This is secretly our.
You so want to go to Genesis.
Dude, welcome to our Phantom Menace review. Disguised as the Search for Spock. You've been duped.
We've been slowly doing a Phantom Menace review over our last 200 episodes. It's just sprinkled in.
So this movie's plot, a lot of its plot points, I should say, are as thin as gossamer. For example,
Such a delicate way to put
Secret
that.
Seinfeld.
Nice.
Thank you. I'm an old person. How did the greasy space pirates find information about? That's kind of my real question, because we have like lady who's an alien, and don't worry, folks, you know she's an alien because she has like a weird line on her forehead, and she has like jaundice.
She's a Klingon spy.
Is she?
Yeah,
With
she's the one that
jaundice.
she got the tape about Genesis and sent it to Kruge.
She got
When she
weak
looked
liver
at it
games.
first.
Do you say that like hospital wards people with jaundice? Yo, get your liver game weak. You're
Some
making
vitamin
God
E.
cry with your weakness, boy. Like, I don't understand. Like, you know, did you see anything about Genesis? Yeah, I read a few words about it. Well, you know what I had to do it to him, and then he blows her up. Like, how did these people find information about Genesis? Why are they looking? I know the pirates are looking for money, but why does he have to blow her up? Some of his crew members can know about Genesis, but not like this girl he's dating. You know, but she's fine with them blowing her up. So, you know, like, I think that's relationship goals.
That's not what I took away from that, but carry on.
Oh, okay.
Hey, sorry, Connor, I was gone. Did I hear you talking about Ryan Gosling?
Yes. Yeah, he's actually on the podcast right now.
Said something about thin as Gosling.
Oh my god.
Saying Ryan Gosling makes my Siri activate. I meant the phone, guys.
Typical
That's
woman.
a really weird euphemism, but I was right there with you.
Oh my god. So we have to talk about the Grissom and how it looks like diarrhea. This is the worst looking ship in the fleet, and frankly, everyone on it deserved to die because they served on such a disgusting piece of garbage. It's like, I don't understand how anyone can make this ship and say, "Oh, that looks good. Put that in the feature movie." This looks despicable. It is a war crime in Yugoslavia to my eyes. Okay, it is disgusting. I don't like it. Neutral zone. Speaking of the Grissom sister. Speaking of the Grissom, we have to talk about the captain of the Grissom. And Esteban, that guy, he is giving off Major MASH vibes. The way he looks and his delivery is just like Hawkeye from MASH, and he even looks like Alan Alda. That is a deep cut MASH reference, and kids love it.
It's not deep cut. He's the lead of MASH.
Well, I know
He's
it's
like the most recognizable MASH actor, but
it's a deep cut. I'm so good. I just want to put it out there. Also, two more things. So did fetus Spock push his way out of the coffin? How do you do that? Or maybe it was a baby Spock. But babies are dumb. You know? They don't know how to, they don't know.
I've heard that. I've heard that's true.
They don't know how to use the internet.
It's true, folks.
They don't know what Ponfar is. They don't drink vodka.
I think you
Babies are
said that
dumb.
wrong.
No, he said it absolutely correct.
I said it in a way that won't have me get punched in the throat.
I don't think anybody punched me.
Do you want to
in
say it
the
together?
throat.
So I won't get in trouble?
On a count of 3. 1, 2.
Poon
Fire.
All right.
Kapla.
Did you guys get that out of your system now?
Yes.
No promises.
So baby Spock opened a coffin, disregarded his clothes, and he's just running around. How is this kid not dead from
They
the
didn't
elements?
fit.
What?
Didn't fit.
His
Didn't-
clothes?
Yeah.
Oh.
And the coffin.
It was a bit roomy.
I'm just wondering how he got out and how he didn't die.
Yeah, how do you little toddler lift the door open and his little neck
I like how
itself?
he
Weak
folded
coffin.
the clothes after.
Yeah,
It's
right.
like, how do you
Yeah, that
fold
was
a
very-
robe
So
very
polite.
nicely?
Conscientious of him.
You
It's
know-
it's actually worth asking. I mean, you're gonna shoot this coffin out into space and you haven't sealed it?
Mm.
Was
just
it in
kind
the
of-
budget?
Yeah.
Open?
But aren't
I don't know.
Vulcans wicked strong or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Especially
true.
when they're babies. That's when they're at their strongest.
Well, he probably didn't get out as a baby. He aged so fast. He was probably 7 or 8 before he
Yeah,
went out.
I'm assuming how they found him is how he the age he was
Yeah.
when he left the coffin.
Probably when he was big enough to actually
Yeah.
get
Okay,
himself
that
out.
makes sense. Final one,
works.
and it's a biggin.
Kirstie Alley.
Dudes! My dudes!
So what?
I do not know how to run this podcast, Connor, so
I will.
please.
I'll do it.
You know what, Jocelyn? We'll figure it out.
All right.
We got it.
What is Christopher Klingon's motive? Why does he want Genesis? I understand that it's a weapon.
It's the ultimate weapon.
Yeah, I know. But you need more than that. He doesn't have any characterization in terms of his past. I don't know anything about Papa Kruge. And everyone wants to know more about Papa. I mean, he has interesting little quirks. He likes his Targ, Thankfully that thing survived through the movie. Right? He shoots one of his guys for failing once.
It's a big fail.
I mean, it was an epic fail.
I mean, it's probably the failure is on the Grissom itself. Because
Yeah.
it's such a poorly constructed. I don't even know where the engines are on this ugly thing.
And finally, the fight. We gotta talk. One of the best episodes of Voyager, but also one of the weakest parts. Actually, it is the second weakest part of this movie. So the movie ends with this bombastic fight scene. The planet's exploding, and they're just duking it out. But William Shatner is a crypt keeper stand-in at this point.
Yeah, he's 51.
Yeah, and you're okay.
You're okay.
And he's dueling with Christopher Lloyd, and it's very reminiscent of the third Star Wars movie. Think about that.
Anakin and Obi-Wan.
Yeah, it's over.
Well, there's lava and
Planet
stuff.
There is
destroying
lava and
itself.
stuff.
Yeah.
Lava.
Yeah. But
Kirk had the high ground.
He sure did.
Connor, you actually.
You might be onto
Make
something.
I am onto something. I'm always onto something. I'm the only sane one left. But to finish this up real quick, it was just really I'm sick of you or whatever. Yeah, is that what he said?
I have had enough of you.
And he's it's borderline comedic. Also, he just leaves David's body to be consumed by lava. They
And
don't
that
need a funeral. He's
chauffeur.
not going to talk to his wife about it. That's over. You can always make new Davids. Am I right?
Exactly. But he also left his jacket.
Yeah, dude.
It's worth something, right?
Yeah.
He was jealous that his son's fashion was better than his. It's he's secretly glad David died.
Well, he can't pick up 2 people, so he probably grabbed the one that's alive.
Yeah, well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And also the one that was more important.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
Well, that's all my cons. Brevity is a soul wit. What can I say?
Thank you, Connor. Lita, do you have any remaining cons?
Yeah, that Targ and also the terribly suggestive hairy slime worms that the Klingon fought for a little while. Those were some of the grossest props in the whole movie.
That's why we like him.
I mean, I wouldn't have blinked if they'd just upped and started growing spider legs like they were in The Thing. And also, although I liked the storyline, the movie had quite a few moments that moved slower than Targ blood on a chilly morning in space. Jocelyn?
Yeah, couldn't agree with you more there. I just have a general Star Trek criticism, and just as a precursor, the way I say it is pung far. I don't know why that's how I spelled it as well. That's what I hear when they say whatever they're saying. I hear pung far.
Well, I mean, that's not as bad as some.
Yeah. Tongue far.
Okay.
I can assure you that's not
General
what they're saying.
criticism. In the Star Trek universe, a lot is made of this pun far, poon far.
There it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. And the agony that must be endured every 7 years for Vulcan males, when in reality, human females go through bodily agony resulting in blood loss every month, and it's called a menstrual cycle, and you don't hear us screaming about it on a planet that's about to implode.
I mean, speak for yourself, Jocelyn.
So, message to my Vulcan brothers out there, deal with it.
Get over it.
And also for you human males who are trying to appropriate the pungfar for your own pickup lines, "Hey girl, if I don't copulate, I'll literally die," is the worst pickup line, and nobody's buying it, so move right along.
And you can only use that pickup line once every 7 years.
Exactly. Plus now, that's what I'm calling my period. My pungfar.
Pass it on.
This show is always educational.
I like the Scarlet Witch, personally.
I thought we settled on Krampus.
That's for December.
Oh, okay.
That's for December.
Yuletide.
We have Scarlet Witch and Krampus.
I prefer all reliable,
The more you know.
but I just have kidney problems.
Those are my cons.
Chelsea, do you have any remaining cons?
Yes. I think in the Wrath of Khan, I mentioned David was kind of annoying because he was like an angsty teen, even though he was about 50.
Mm-hmm.
I was incorrect. So he wasn't angsty. I still didn't like him. I think he's really boring. I think he's arrogant, and I think he tries to be his dad, but he's really just kind of like the dollar store version of his dad. So I wasn't really upset that he died.
But he did say the line. He's the first thing David said in this movie. This ties back to the prequels. This is where the fun begins.
The prequels?
He does say that, yeah.
The prequels?
This is where the fun begins. I haven't seen you this upset since we fell into that nest of gun dogs.
So my last con is one of the Klingons had like a weird looking like bald cap. Where like hair just kind of like shot out from like the middle of his head. That was weird, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a very
That's
low
guy.
cut.
Yeah, I was like, I've never seen a Klingon with quite that setup.
Blu-ray.
I don't think it was the Blu-ray's fault. But yeah, so that was a weird kind of petty con. But those are my cons, Jordan.
Yeah, my top 3 cons. I'm glad you asked, Jeremy.
On the board.
The whole crux of the film, which is my biggest con by far, is that Starfleet won't just return the dead body of one of its most decorated officers, who's also the son of the Vulcan ambassador, who just saved his entire crew. So Kirk has to steal a ship to go just get a dead body? Like, why couldn't the Grissom just pick up Spock and bring him back? They could have even been like, "Hey, Grissom, can you bring this body back?" And then the Grissom gets destroyed, and then they get to go. But then you don't get the heisty part. So I kind of get it, but it doesn't make much sense. Did Nimoy record the intro to this movie inside a torpedo casing? Because the audio quality was atrocious.
Made me nervous. I was like, oh, what's going on with the sound?
Yeah, it's like, are my speakers blown? And lastly, and Jocelyn I think kind of touched on this, all the other Federation officers are beyond incompetent. Mm-hmm. And who files their nails while lying down in bed? And that D-baggy even tried to steal Saru's catchphrase. He said, "Execute." Yeah, that's right. Saru did it way before you and way better. So,
That's right. Not on our
putting it out
watch.
there. But that's my remaining cons. Jeremy, how about you?
That's it. I got through all my cons. Everything else was perfect. That's what we thought about this movie. What did you guys at home think about it?
Picking up communication, sir.
Paul Pinelli says, the weakest of the trilogy, but the greatest of the odd-numbered movies. Has arguably the greatest scene in all of Trek with the destruction of the Enterprise and the fantastic line from McCoy. A scene that properly conveys the weight of what has happened, which is a rare thing in Hollywood history. Senior Councilmember Wayne Fraser says, really, really good, but it suffers in comparison to 2 and 4. Also, while the Harve Bennett films were always made to a relatively tight budget, in this film it really shows. Shatner never got his dues as an actor, but his reaction to learning that David has died is some of his best work. There are also some amazing moments, such as the Enterprise entering space dock, all battle-scarred, and the whole sequence on Vulcan at the end. Okay, I just talked myself into bumping up the score a bit. And Barbara Whipple says, I love this show. It's nice to see the background story to Ephraim and Dot, where we see them save the tardigrade eggs just before the ship explodes. There is such good continuity. And I enjoyed Klingon Commander Doc Brown, who evidently heard that Archer had a beagle on board and decided he could bring his own. That supercilious captain, I really thought it was supercilious captain of the Excelsior, reminds me of the British captain in High Road to China, who behaved much the same way. He carried around a fly whisk that was similar to that little gadget the Excelsior captain had, whatever that was. Evidently not a fly whisk. Dr. McCoy had the best lines. It's his revenge for all the arguments he lost. And finally, it looks like we have an incoming transmission from Will Flora. Let's hear what Will Flora has to say about this episode.
Here's what I think people don't like about The Search for Spock. It's sandwiched in between the greatest and a very good movie. And I don't think The Search for Spock is the best movie, but I think it's a good movie. Now, what I really enjoyed revisiting it was the cinematography. I think Leonard Nimoy did a good job directing that and getting that all tightened up and edited right. I liked a lot of the visual effects. It held up pretty well. Well, I think some of them are kind of cheesy, but I think for the most part they held up well. And the problem with it is that it just feels like a really long episode of Star Trek, and there's a lot of things that could have fleshed out. Like, I feel like the movie could have been about 30 minutes longer. But overall, it's a very good movie. You got a great cast, of course, and then Christopher Lloyd is the bad guy. Will always come hard, You know how he do. But Doc Brown is Doc Klingon in this one, so Doc Klingon loses in the end, but he got that ring to Mordor. So yeah, I give it 7 different effects for phasers and disruptor.
All right, thank you, Will Floyd.
It's done.
Jordan, fun facts.
Well, guys, originally there was going to be 3 villains in this film, Kruge and his 2 twin brothers. The initial screen tests did not go well, as they were constantly trying to poke each other in the eyes and hit each other in the head. Fans thought that the villains were too goofy, so the plans for the 3 Kruges was canceled.
Yeah. Kruge, Scrooge, and Splooge.
That's Spock's nickname. In the opening credits, there's an extra long pause between William Shatner and DeForest Kelley's names, where Leonard Nimoy's name would normally be, which I never caught on to, but it's true, and it's pretty awesome. When negotiating Kirstie Alley's contract for Star Trek II, Jeremy, I'm going to need you to just mute here for a minute. Paramount Pictures did not offer or include any options or clauses regarding any possible sequels. According to director Leonard Nimoy, this left Alley open to negotiations on a new contract for this film, resulting in Alley's excessive salary demands, which led her to being replaced by Robin Curtis. Showing great restraint. Production was endangered by the Great Fire, or why it's called the Great Fire, at Paramount Pictures. William Shatner helped fight the fire and rescue a crew member before the firefighter reinforcements arrived. Shatner said that his motivation for doing so was purely to save a day of shooting on the schedule. as he had to make a deadline to be available for shooting on the new season of T.J. Hooker. The film's villains were originally intended to be Romulans, but under studio management, they wanted Klingons to be used since they were better-known enemies. By the time the decision was made, the Romulan warship was already built, and they did not want to expense of the replacement. However, since the original series had already established that the Klingons and Romulans had shared technologies and ships in the past for exactly the same real-world cost-cutting measures, the idea of the Klingons using a Romulan-style vessel was not a problem. Edward James Olmos was almost the director. Leonard Nimoy's original choice for the role of Kruge, actually. However, producer Harv Bennett preferred Christopher Lloyd. Nimoy finally cast Lloyd because he came off as more operatic and physically intimidating, which I don't think I've ever heard attributed to Christopher Lloyd, but okay. According to Robin Curtis in the Blu-ray making of documentary, Christopher Lloyd did not fully understand the use of communicators. He would often shout his lines into the air rather than speak into the communicator. The example she used was when he says, "Bring me up." Well, on the Genesis planet, he yelled at the sky as if the ship could hear him. He had to be repeatedly told not to yell at the sky.
Old man yells at clouds.
Yeah, it sounds like someone like, "Grandpa, you gotta stop yelling at the sky."
This is the guy who builds the flux capacitor yet just a year later. It's crazy.
The funny thing to me is like Christopher Lloyd, when he was in Back to the Future, I thought he was like in his 80s when he did that role. So the fact that he's like still alive acting, I'm like, wait, how is he still alive? But they aged him up really well, I guess. Paramount Pictures studio chief Michael Eisner resisted the idea of Leonard Nimoy directing because he mistakenly thought that the reason for Spock's death stemmed from a hatred that Nimoy had about Star Trek. He believed that it was written in Nimoy's contract that Spock had died in the Wrath of Khan because Nimoy told him that he wanted to. Apparently, Nimoy told him that the contracts are in a file in the basement of the building you're sitting in and suggested that he go get someone to pull it for him. So I guess there's this misconception that Leonard Nimoy had written in his clause that he had to be killed off in the Wrath of Khan, and apparently that was not true, but I don't know, that's kind of up in the air. A popular creature from the original series episode, The Trouble with Tribbles, made a cameo appearance during the bar sequence when Dr. McCoy tries to hire a ship. Did you all see the Tribble cameo?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
The self-destruct codes of the USS Enterprise, apparently, this is part of my con, have not been changed in years, as they are identical to those used in the episode, the original series, Let That Be Your Last Battlefield. So, yeah, update your passwords, people. Director Leonard Nimoy was met with resistance from Paramount Pictures when he considered casting Christopher Lloyd as the villain. Executives told him that Lloyd was just a television actor and would not be accepted in other roles. Himself a television actor who fought typecasting, Nimoy became even more determined to cast him. Lloyd's best-known role was on the sitcom Taxi, on which his character was a huge fan of Star Trek. The young Spock was voiced by Frank Welker. Welker and Nimoy shared the role of Megatron and Galvatron in the Transformers movie in 1986. Welker also provided numerous voices in Transformers Revenge of the Fallen in 2009, directed by Nimoy's second wife's cousin, Michael Bay. Nimoy was offered the title role but declined. He later voiced Sentinel Prime in Transformers Dark Side of the Moon. In the film's novelization, Savick and David Marcus became romantically involved. That kind of happened in the film version, too. The seeds, no pun intended, for this were planted in the previous film's novelization. This storyline was completely dropped from the movie. Also, Savick became pregnant with Spock's child. This was also dropped. Hopefully from the film. Well, the child was not dropped. Scheduling conflict prevented Kim Cattrall from working on this film as she was filming Police Academy at the time. She later appeared in Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country. So yeah, and part of that stemmed from them not wanting to recast Savick again, and I guess the studio did not want Robin Curtis or Kurt Cobain back, so they hired Kim Cattrall and made a different character, Valeris. This film has been speculated to be an influence behind Xena Warrior Princess's episode The Quest, because in that, Gabrielle, sets out to take Xena's body back home to be buried next to her brother, but Autolycus, played by Bruce Campbell, and he's hilarious, is possessed by Xena's spirit, and they set out to return Xena to the land of the living and reclaim her body by retrieving the ambrosia, which was basically just Jello-shaped funny, which resurrected her. So I'm going to go watch that episode because I love Xena, I love Bruce Campbell, and that they basically did Search for Spock. So I can't get better than that.
I'm more of a Kevin Sorbo kind of guy. Disappointed!
After having problems with Gene Roddenberry trying to interfere with productions on the first two films, Paramount Pictures had effectively barred him from the set for this film. Gary Faga, the security guard who Sulu knocks out and called him Tiny, was also played by the airlock technician, or played the airlock technician from the motion picture where Spock gave him the Vulcan nerve pinch. So that poor guy is a really crappy security guard. If you need someone knocked out in your film, call Gary Faga. There was a debate during the writing of the script as to who should be killed by the Klingons, Saavik or David Marcus. And this is really weird. It was eventually decided that Marcus should die as punishment for using protomatter in the Genesis Matrix. Like, I don't know. Like, the Klingons are mad about it?
Wow.
Yeah. I don't know. The writer's like, yeah, well, he used protomatter. Like, well, you wrote that. Like, wait, what?
You made him do it.
Yeah. Two more. The assassination of Valkyris, played by Kathy Shirriff. Shirriff. Wow. By Kruge, was directed Leonard Nimoy his way of presenting to the audience that the Klingon race was brutal and had a brutal mentality. Which, yeah, I guess we kind of hadn't seen the Klingons fleshed out before, so Nimoy kind of adds a little bit to the Klingons here, as well as so much to the Vulcans.
Yeah, I guess Kruge really shot the sheriff.
But he didn't kill the deputy.
That's correct.
The scene in which Kirk stumbles into his chair after hearing of the death of his son was an improvisation by William Shatner, who was told by Leonard Nimoy to do whatever reaction Shatner wanted to do. Shatner has never told whether he meant to miss the chair and slip to the ground, or if he had meant to simply hit the seat hard but missed going backwards. So, which I never thought of, but maybe he just slipped. But some of his best work, he fell into his best work. And that's all the fun facts.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jordan. Let's get into our deleted scenes. Connor, you have a deleted scene for us.
I do. But I actually have a second one that's really short.
Okay.
And it is next time on Kurtzman Goes on a Search for Good Scripts.
Oh, you got him. You bloody got him.
No, he didn't. He hadn't got any yet.
Got him.
Ooh.
Sorry.
Destroyed.
Yeah, maybe he'll discover how to write well. Yo.
Yeah, that's why it's called Star Trek Discovery.
Nailed it, guys. All right, do you have an actual commercial content?
Yeah.
Okay.
Janeway sent us another hit, another slammer, another ham slam jabamba, as the kids would say.
Mm-hmm.
Her Slither Gulp has been shut down.
Oh,
apparently, yeah, third world labor laws. Yeah. Apparently sending death squads to threaten union workers isn't a thing that's cool anymore.
Well, anything we could do to help her out in her next project, I'm down for.
And it's ethical.
Okay, let's go ahead and cue that up.
Step right up to Janeway's Meth Emporium. We have got the meth, folks. Cool meth, meth mints, pizza meth, blood meth, meth dog food, meth melons, hot meth, cold meth. You name the meth and I'll sell it. Meth helps you unravel life's many mysteries and boosts your health. Is your back aching? Are you dying of cancer? Why, step right up and buy some meth, sir. Meth is for everybody. Children, babies, old people, Voyager fans, balloon fetishists, the sick, the healthy, men, women, those who lieth betwixt. Ladies, I get it. Giving birth is a hard labor, believe me. Why not make it easier and buy some meth? Meth today, meth tomorrow, meth forever. Janeway's Meth Emporium.
Hello, babies. It's me, Janeway. And I'm here to give you A brief little disclaimer. For legal reasons, my lawyer told me to do this. I'm not at all responsible for any adverse side effects that may result of you abusing my meth, okay? Now go. Go and buy my meth, you miserable little troglodytes.
Okay.
It seems like a good deal.
Yeah, I'm glad she's back up on her feet.
There's a meth for everybody. There's glasses meth. For those so inclined.
There's meth in that nebula.
There's meth in that nebula.
That was my line.
Aww.
That was our line, comrade.
Guys, I don't know if you read the fine print, but I own everything that's said on this podcast.
I said that in my car.
Prove it! Lita, do you have a deleted scene?
Yeah. We actually find out that Spock was about 35 when Kirk could have taken him off the planet, halting his rapid aging, but he waited around a little bit longer just so he could be the younger / hotter one.
So vain. Very good. Thank you, Lita. Jocelyn, you have a deleted scene.
Well, I mean, this one was in the movie, but I think some people might have missed it. As you know, we've talked about it. Christopher Lloyd was in Back to the Future just 1 year after this came out. And if you pay attention, you can hear kind of where he was trying out little bits of that character in this movie. I think I actually have one clip to play that you might have forgotten about.
Drop all weapons! Over there! All but Kirk! Genesis! I want it! But why? After I fell off my toilet, I drew this. Somehow we've got to sneak this back to the future. Beam the Vulcan up! And we'll talk. Give me what I want, and I'll consider it. You fool, look around you! The planet's destroying itself! Great Scott!
Yeah, so, you know, you're just kind of coming through a little bit there.
Very good.
Scott. Yeah, he really liked Scotty.
He is a great Scott. Very good. Thank you, Jocelyn. Chelsea, do you have a deleted scene?
I do. I'm going to go ahead and apologize in advance. I can assure you this is the last installment of the Lynch cut.
I knew it!
Well, we had a Lynch in this movie, so how could you not?
Albert. Lynch cut, part 3, the final scene. The scene fades slowly in from a still shot of a missing poster of Agent Dale Cooper, dated 1981.
You know, Albert, it's not too late to change your mind. You're always a little rough around the edges, but you did damn fine work. After all these years apologizing about my behavior, Gordon, I thought for sure you'd be excited for my finally leaving. Seems like you're getting a little soft. Hey, not where it counts, buddy. Well, I think I have all my stuff packed, so I guess I'll see you around, Gordon. It has been an honor working with you all these years. Let me know if you ever find out what happened to Coop. Yeah, you too, champ. That's short for champion.
Albert rolls his eyes and leaves his office for the last time. Flash forward to 1984. Gordon exits the theater after seeing Star Trek III, The Search for Spock. He's still pretty confused about Albert having made such a drastic career change, but happy that he's made a name for himself in Hollywood as unnamed man on the bridge of the Grissom. Gordon rounds the corner to head down the alley towards his Vespa when all of a sudden, Albert appears in front of his eyes, seemingly out of thin air.
Albert, how the hell have you been, buddy? I just watched your space adventure movie. You were great, champ. That's short for champion.
Albert just stares blankly at Gordon, as if he's never seen this man before. Suddenly, a flash of light appears, and before his very eyes, Albert transforms into the missing Agent Dale Cooper.
Coop, my old friend. What the hell happened to you? And where did Albert go?
Coop says nothing, turns his head, looks directly into the camera, and his eyes go completely black. The screen flashes back to the Black Lodge, where you see the real Agent Cooper sitting in a lone armchair, staring straight ahead.
Well, I followed that completely. Well done, Chelsea.
Me too.
Jocelyn, you gotta watch Twin Peaks. I won't seem as crazy after you watch Twin Peaks.
What is Twin Peaks? I thought it was a soap opera.
It can't be answered in this hour.
It's a spook opera.
Yeah, spook opera.
That sounds awful, guys.
Spook opera.
Am I the only one hearing this?
Well, they said it all the time on Scooby-Doo.
Fantastic. Thank you, Chelsea. Jordan, deleted scene.
Yeah, and this was a big one. I don't know why they cut this from the film, but shortly after landing on the Genesis planet, the Enterprise is reborn into a cute, tiny little shuttle, and it just keeps growing. And it'll be back in Star Trek V. And also, I wanted to show you guys this. I had two because the other one's visual. I wanted to show you my Grissom cosplay.
Oh, the podcast listeners are loving this.
People love visual gags on podcasts.
For those listening at home, it is Jordan with his arms holding a hat.
Yeah. Extended over my... Jordan, his arms open. Shaka.
His arms wide open.
Thank you, Jordan. Crazy enough, Jocelyn, there was another deleted scene using Christopher Lloyd. Man, I almost went that same direction, but I went with another movie. In a scene cut from the final film, to promote another one of Christopher Lloyd's upcoming projects, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, there was a last-second reveal that Kruge was actually a tune all along. Can you believe it?
Remember me?
Admiral.
When I killed your
Son.
I
Uncanny. Yeah, I don't know why they didn't keep that.
It's gotta be the scariest movie I've ever seen.
What range?
Ever.
Yeah, we shouldn't have seen that as kids.
No, we should not have been watching that.
Who framed O.J. Simpson? The juice is loose. That's the tagline.
Hey guys, let's rate this sucker. What do you say, Connor? What do you give The Search for Spock?
I'm going to give this one an 8.
Okay.
An 8, a search for pop rocks.
Okay, very good. Lita?
I gave this 9 grandpas lost in space.
Fantastic. Jocelyn?
I also give it an 8. That would be 7 swanky Sulu suits plus 1 complimentary leather cape jacket.
Very
Write all
good.
that down.
I got that down. Perfect. Chelsea?
I also gave it 8 baby Spocks sang to the tune of Baby Shark.
Oh.
But instead of doing like this, you got to do this. So the hand motions are much more sensual in Baby Spock.
Y'all are nasty.
Oh,
Jordan.
Well, that's when you get to like regular Spock, Grandpa Spock, whatever. It's a song for all ages.
It really is. It was.
I give it an 8. Okay. I give it 8 Federation Funny Farms.
Yeah, you can't say that. You can't say funny farms anymore. I guess they're not very PC in the future.
Well, they say it in the film.
Yeah, well, this is a terrible Chevy Chase movie. I understand. Man, I feel awful, guys. I gave it a 7. I really liked it. 7 disgusting captains that file their nails in bed like a freak.
Like a sociopath.
Yeah.
That's what sociopaths do. That and take pills without taking water with it.
That's all they do.
Exactly.
And Star Trek Wars Council give an average score of an 8.13. So let me tally up the old tally box here. Boop, boop,
Not a thing.
boop.
You're a real mathematician over there, Jeremy.
I got it.
Eureka.
So how did Star Trek The Search for Spock do this week? Using the combined average score of ourselves and you guys who vote at home, Search for Spock flies illegally out of space dock with a score of an 8.01. What a wonderful score.
What a wonderful score.
Thank you, Louie. And That puts it slightly under Wrath of Khan, with still holding the lead with a 9.47, but above Motion Picture of 5.92. 8.01. Great for a third outing. Next time on Star Trek Wars, we'll be reviewing the fourth movie of this franchise.
Ooh.
Avoid the planet Earth at all costs. We are under the attack of an orbiting probe.
Notify all stations. Starfleet emergency. Red alert.
Earth is on the edge of destruction.
We cannot survive unless a way can be found to respond to the probe.
The key to saving the future.
Spock, you're talking about the end of every life on Earth.
Can be found only in the past.
We're going to attempt time travel. Sulu, take us home.
These are the voyages of the crew of the Starship Enterprise.
Judging by the pollution content of the atmosphere, I believe we have arrived at the latter half of the 20th century.
Stardate 1986.
San Francisco. Our own world is waiting for us to save it.
They have 24 hours
Everybody remember where we parked. Break up.
to complete their mission.
It looked like a cadet review.
We will beam in tonight, collect the photons, and beam out.
I want you all to be very careful.
Without being discovered.
We have an intruder.
All right, who are you?
You're not exactly catching us at our best.
That much is certain.
This is an extremely primitive and paranoid culture.
What does it mean, exact change?
Many of their customs will doubtless take us by surprise.
We're ready for beam out.
My transporter power is down to minimal. I got to bring in one at a time.
You're from outer space.
No, I'm from Iowa. I only work in outer space. Let's do our job and get out of here.
Freeze! Chekhov, can you hear me? Freeze! I've lost it.
Who are you? Admiral Kirk! I'm coming with you.
You can't. Our next stop is the 23rd century.
Full power now, sir. Shields at maximum. Steady. Hold on tight, lassie.
Can we make breakaway speed?
That's all I can give you.
8.
9.
Now. Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home.
Why watch it when you can listen to the whole thing?
Trailers were different back then, Jordan. That's right. Next time we are reviewing Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home. Can't wait for that. Star Trek Wars is available on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, and anywhere else fine podcasts are heard. If you haven't done so yet, please take a minute and leave an iTunes review. That simple gesture goes a tremendous long way in helping other like-minded Trekkies find us. Write a review and we'll read it on air. You can also find us on Twitter at the Star Trek Wars. And if you want some fine Star Trek Wars merchandise, head over to redbubble.com or follow the link attached to this episode. My friends, always a pleasure to see you all. Connor, where can they find you?
Man, you can find me pooping, sleuthing, and all around alley-ooping.
Okay, well, I look forward to the third one. Lita, always a pleasure. Where can they find you?
You can find me getting pumped for Star Trek 4. It's going to be a whale of a time.
Oh, come on. No more jokes. Jocelyn, where can they find you?
I don't know, but whatever party Lita's going to, I want to go to that one. It sounds like fun.
Chelsea, always a pleasure. Where can they find you?
I'm probably just going to be shoving my face with carbs so I too can look like Kirstie Alley.
How dare you? How dare you?
Let's
Monster.
keep on to after the podcast.
Yeah, it looks like it's just going to be Dad, Jordan, and I, because you guys are canceled.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
Speaking of which, Jordan, always a pleasure. Where can they find you?
Not so fast, Connor. I'm looking forward to Kirstie Alley's first double roll.
My God.
And, we'll be reviewing Babylon 5 here soon as well. So,
very good. Thanks. As for me, well, you can find me on Kronos visiting the Targ's family. He was one day from retirement.
Oh, little battle Targ.
And of course, as always, you can find me right here on Star Trek Wars. Connor, I have had enough of you.
I have the high ground. Don't try it.
Thanks for listening to Star Trek Wars.